The pack balled out. With Rodgers done, the Jets are in doubt. Tua and Tyreek went nuts. The Giants got knocked on their butts. And the Vikings fans will pout. Welcome to the Mish Po. Oh, and... All right, welcome everybody to the Mish Po. Week 1. As you can see, if you're watching the video version, there's 4 people in the room here. We've got, me, T-Corn, and Lincoln. But then we've also got Matt Yadis. Is that how you say it? Yadis?
It is. Nailed it. Nailed it.
Got Matt Yadis, newest member of the Dem Boys Fantasy League, taking over from Derek last year. So, Matt, since there's some people in the league that don't know who you are, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Matt. Been doing fantasy for a little bit, probably, I think, 8-ish years. And then Ultimate Frisbee captain from probably the oldest one in this group. I think I was with Brian. Don't remember the years off the top of my head. I think it was 11 to 13. So somewhere around there. But I don't play Ultimate anymore. More of a disc golf guy now. So disc golf and fantasy football. That's what it's all about.
Nice. And Chiefs fan too?
I am a Chiefs fan. However, I'm wearing my in memoriam Aaron Rodgers jersey today. So rip Jets and Aaron Rodgers.
Never forget.
Never forget.
What did you think of that Chiefs opening game against the Detroit Lions?
I mean, it's sad. I mean, I think the Lions came out and they were aggressive, and they obviously deserved to win. They won. The one thing that really eked me, though, is I saw, Mike Tirico at the end of the game was like, this is an asterisk, where it's like there's things like that happen in football all the time. People get injured, and I'm not one of those Chiefs fans that's like, I'm upset that they lost, but I've seen them lose plenty of times over the 15 years that I've been a fan. So not necessarily mad about it. So no, I mean, the Lions got the better of us, and we got to teach Kadarius and Sky Moore how to catch. So
yeah. Well, it seems hopefully Travis will be back this week, and I did see that Jones signed a 1-year deal. So
yeah, it's funny how those things work, right? Like they got ripped apart on the ground, and all of a sudden the next week he gets his deal. So he deserved to get the money. He's been good for him for a while, and I think Kelsey could have played Thursday, but it's a long season. You don't win a Super Bowl in week 1. So I like to sit.
Yeah. Alrighty. So before we jump into the bulk of the show, obviously got the beer. I'm not sure if you boys cracked one open yet. Matt, I'm not sure if you've got one there. But
I got Coke.
there you go. But we'll do that, and then we'll get into it. So let's see. Business, a few more payments have trickled in, just in a handful. But yeah, doing pretty good on that front. And then there were no trades in this past week, since the last episode. So no trades to cover there. And so we'll just jump into the recap of last week. So I will pull up the screen here and we will jump into it. So I guess we could just start with the top of the screen here. And Lincoln, you want to give us the rundown of what happened with me and Michael?
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say other than Michael got some big players going on this last week. I mean, at the hands of you, Joey, it sucks, but Tyreek Hill putting up the 40 burger right away this season. That not many people are going to be able to come back from that. I mean, he was solid all around. I mean, the only thing that you could really say is tight end, but he put in a good lineup, and
for sure,
not much you can say other than that.
Couple
underperformers for you, Joey, but there's not much you can do against somebody that puts up 155 points.
Yeah, most points on the week. So, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, unless I would have doubled
Yeah,
my
he
score
hasn't.
and then some.
Yeah, he hasn't christened the most points in our league, but he definitely has a team that can do that at some point this year.
For
But
sure.
yeah, too early to tell though. But yeah, no, he's got a good lineup to start off the season. Yeah, really not much with this one.
Yeah. I mean, I just had some, obviously Michael's guys just went off, so it would be difficult to win regardless. But I feel like, I had, I've got talented guys on the team. They just didn't perform up to how I was expecting. And then also that some young guys that I was saving for later in the season, maybe will get inserted a bit early with, Dobbs and Zay Flowers kind of going off. So even Cortland Sutton didn't do too bad.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if you substitute him, it's still going to be Michael's still going to come out on top, but
right.
You definitely have those guys on your bench that you can substitute in. Yeah, like you said, a lot of young guys on your team, but yeah, no, it just this week has been so many weird twists and turns of like who's actually going to perform. You get the Browns beating the Bengals, and Bengals only putting up 3 points, and then take out Burrow in the fourth quarter. Nobody saw that coming, unless you saw the rain coming down. Then you saw that coming. But
yeah,
no, I mean, just this week in general, it's been kind of weird to start the season. So,
for sure.
I don't see Tyreek putting up that many points each week, but just because they got to feed Waddle.
Right.
But yeah, having him go off 44 and a half in week one is just crazy.
Yeah. Matt, T-Corn, anything else to add? I feel like I covered it pretty good here.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I like Dobbs for the future. Looks like him and Love have a really good, relationship on the field, and I think that's going to be really good for Zay Flowers too. So, yeah, I mean, like Lincoln said, we're going to get smoked regardless, but I think your team, is a lot better than what they came out and played week one. So,
yeah.
Although you could keep losing and take a sacco again for the second year in a row.
That's all right. I think I'll pass.
I don't know. That'd be an odd flex.
Yeah, right.
Alrighty, we'll jump into the next matchup, which was Colin versus Abby. A bit closer.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it was a little bit closer of a matchup. I thought it would be a little bit closer than what it actually was, though. But yeah, I mean, like I stated before, it was just a weird week. Lamar only having 5.5, fumbled a couple times, lost it. It's going to happen when you have the ball out like 5 feet away from your body. Just got to be more secure with it. But yeah, the running backs are stacked in Colin's favor, so it's really hard to go up against that. Eckler putting up 26, and Brian Robinson pretty solid. We knew that the wide receivers were going to perform for Colin, so yeah, it was just a matter of time. And then for Abby, like I said, I definitely thought it was going to be a lot closer, but you just get some people that underperform, and it sucks. I had it this week too, but yeah, I definitely think that Lost some people.
You there, Lincoln?
Uh-oh.
You there?
Hello?
Oh, there he is.
Oh, maybe.
Can you? We can hear you, Lincoln. Can you hear us?
I'm very delayed.
It's that goddamn Pulaski internet.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say probably have somebody else go through. It's gonna
Yeah.
be a bit for me.
Yeah. I can wrap up for him here. So,
Sure.
just kind of looking at, the left side here. I mean, that's Annie's team. So I
Abby,
mean, Abby. So I mean, you have Saquon, who's generally going to perform on a weekly basis. Kind of the same story as Joey had, where decent amount of players on this team. I'm curious to see what she does next week. Hopefully, Mark Andrews is slated to play because I know Greg D is going to be out out for a few weeks. So hoping that Mark Andrews, and that should be a good push up for her team. And yeah, just kind of unfortunate. I think if the Steelers or if the Steelers don't play such bad ball, Debo Samuel gets his. George Pickens goes up. So, and I believe Deion Jackson's also hurt, or he's not going to be in that field with 2 fumbles lost.
I think Zach Moss will be coming back to take over that starting spot.
But
yeah, you're right for sure. The Steelers just, I think I saw a stat later in the first half that the Steelers had 1 yard of offense compared to the 49ers 199. So they just could not move it well. All things considered, George Pickens with 8.6 isn't terrible. But
no,
I mean, San Francisco's defense was just elite.
They look good.
And their offense is pretty solid as well. But unfortunately, those 2 touchdowns, well, 3, McCaffrey had the 1, but then the 2 passing went to Ayuk. So, if just one of those goes to Debo, then I mean, Abby still probably loses, but it's a bit closer.
Also, big flex starting 2 Arizona wide receivers with Josh Dobbs as the starting quarterback. I don't even think he knows their name.
Yeah, that is a big time flex.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
So definitely a solid win with some Carolina with those guys in as the flex. So,
yep. Alrighty, we'll move on to the next matchup, which is Adam versus Sam here. So I guess I'll just hop in here since Lincoln had some internet issues. Patrick Mahomes, despite that loss, and relatively, I guess 21-20 is, towards the upper end of scoring, but, you're used to Patrick Mahomes scoring a lot more than that. So the fact that he got 20.54 is pretty solid for him. Montgomery in the same game did pretty solid, 13.4. Obviously, that touchdown really helped, but, he got a ton of work, 21 carries. Someone who didn't get a ton of work, unfortunately, had 8 targets, but T. Higgins caught none of them, which is just kind of crazy. I didn't watch that game, but I did actually hear that, if you go and look, they were a bit loose with what they considered a target, considering the weather and just the kind of situations they're facing. So, obviously, T. Higgins is a good receiver, and he'll definitely bounce back. It's pretty dang near hard, impossible to do worse than what he did. Solid performances from the other receivers, though, with A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin, and Michael Thomas all getting double digits, and Michael Thomas showing signs potentially of 2 years ago. So we'll see if he can keep that going. And then, pretty solid scores, around the rest of the team on the left specifically, especially the Jets defense, didn't realize they got 25 points. But I guess if you pick off Josh Allen 3 times
Punt
and
return.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
get that touchdown, that'll do it for you. So
Yeah, and having an empty flex doesn't help either.
yeah, with A-Chain being, I
but,
believe he was a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
And you had Deuce Vaughn as your RB2 up there, too.
Yeah, he
So,
doesn't have much depth at the running back
Yeah, because
position,
I
I don't
believe
think.
he had Jonathan Taylor. I thought maybe I can't remember who had him, but obviously not a ton of depth, right?
Yeah, Singletary is the only other one that I see.
Yeah, so
that's
Sim could
Um,
definitely use a little bit of help at running back.
mhm.
James Cook did all right though.
Yeah,
But
when you have 3 slots that have under a point,
it's a bit rough to come back from.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
But yeah, I mean, there was, obviously Sam, he did have the lowest score on the week, but Adam he was pretty solid towards the, I would probably higher end ish of points. Broke 100, which is something. So not everybody on this call here can say that.
Nope.
Speaking of, we'll move to the next matchup, which is T-Corn versus Brian.
Do we have to?
We do have to.
At least you're not lowest points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second
I
lowest.
was worried for a minute there.
You're close.
I was nervous.
Obviously,
After all that
Rogers
shit I talked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you were talking shit to me, and I scored more points than you. So
I know. I'm just as shocked as you are.
Obviously, Brian's quarterback was Aaron Rodgers, and to get out for the game 4 snaps into it without even completing a pass is a bit rough. But he was still able to get a win, and at least Aaron Rodgers wasn't the lowest scoring player in this matchup, as you can see here. Antonio Gibson with the
right.
negative 0.1. So that's pretty rough there. Man, Christian Kirk also didn't do that great. But, Brian had a couple 24 pointers back to back here with 24.4 from Tyler Algier and then 24 from Justin Jefferson, who always seems to play well unless he's going up against Jair. But there's not, 11.8 points from P. Ryan and 11.7. You're probably hoping for more points from CeeDee Lamb there, T-Corn.
Solid flex, though.
Yeah. P. Ryan was solid. Definitely better than Jackson Smith, who may have been still dealing with, I believe it was a hand injury. But obviously he was out there. But yeah, this is probably the lowest scoring total matchup, cumulatively of the week. But there were still some bright spots. Herbert did pretty good with that 20.92. And if Jahmyr Gibbs got more than 9 touches total, he definitely would have scored more than 8 points. And he did. There was that one play he slipped, and he definitely would have scored if he had not slipped. So I think it's just from here for Jahmyr, it's just up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Breece Hall looked good on the bench too. He played really well Monday night, and I think he's going to get between him and Dalvin Cook with Rodgers now being out for the season. I think they're going to get a nice healthy dose of work the rest of the season.
Yeah, sure. I was really hoping Gibbs would do better, but because I was a little concerned about Breece's work coming off an ACL. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to go with a better person, and hopefully Cooper Kupp comes back soon. So,
yep. Yeah, they might not even need him back with Puka, going off.
Puka.
But yeah, not so solid work here, but I'm definitely certain that there's better days ahead for probably both of these teams. Rodgers with that 0 isn't going to help anybody. You know, he's got Anthony Richardson on his bench, so I feel like that's not too bad of a second choice for a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we will move on to the next matchup, which is Caleb versus Fiala, potentially the highest scoring total matchup of the week. Just some pretty solid performances, not necessarily by the quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Jared Goff. Neither of them breaking 15 points. But then if you look at those running backs, Bijan Robinson with 20.3, and then Travis Etienne 21.4, pretty solid. And then look at that, both running back twos got exactly the same amount of points, so that's pretty interesting. And then Chris Olave, pretty solid stuff there, 19.2. Another 0. I'm sure Dallas Goedert will get that worked out. And then a relatively low score from Jamar Chase as well over on Caleb's side. I'm sure that'll, that was just Cleveland, good defense, rainy day. They'll definitely bounce back, I'm sure. But then if you just keep scrolling down, there's some more really good points. And golly, those defenses, sheesh. 62 points between the two defenses.
Oh my gosh.
It's
That's
disgusting.
insane.
Wild.
But yeah, I mean, this was definitely a high-scoring matchup. Mike Evans, the flex spots, Mike Evans and Khalil Herbert for Caleb, 18.6 and 11.4, and then Michael Pittman and Jaden Reed, 23.7 and 6.6. Not too super great for Jaden Reed, but I mean, better than other players. But tight ends, though, definitely not the greatest, with 1.4 total between the two.
Take away those defenses, and it's a pretty even match.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dallas isn't going to be able to perform like that each week. They're good, but I don't think they're that good.
Yeah. Any other things you guys want to point out for this matchup?
Yeah, I remember us making fun of Caleb's team to start during the draft, and just kind of looking at it, I think kind of no joke. He said it in the draft where he thought he was drunk drafting during his bachelor party, and I don't know, his team looks pretty solid. It's no team to shy away at, that's for sure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's got some big names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got potential. We'll see how the season plays out. I still have question marks on it, but I definitely think he's going to – I just think his team's probably going to be one that kind of goes up and down. It's going to be more of a roller coaster, which, I mean, that's fantasy football in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Though, so.
Yep.
Alrighty, next matchup. We have Bruce versus Matt, which I think this is the second closest matchup of the week. It's either this one or the next one. Doing some quick math here, but
I was really pulling for you, Matt. Damn.
Oh my gosh!
Scoring. Yeah.
I told Bruce. I said I thought I was going to pull one off. I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to get one on him, but yeah, that was It was a great matchup to watch throughout the entire weekend. So.
Puka.
And you've got
Puka.
Puka, who is on your bench, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm sure next week he'll be in that lineup.
We're gonna try. Although against the San Francisco defense, I'm not sure yet.
Ooh, true. But okay. So just looking at this matchup, Trevor Lawrence did pretty good, 17.74. Definitely Bruce, I'm sure, was expecting more from Hurts. Hoping more, at least 11.5. But then if you just look at the next three players, all 20-plus points from Pollard, Aaron Jones, and Steph Diggs. Hopefully for Bruce's sake and for the Packer fans in the league's sake. Jones's hamstring issue at the end of that long touchdown isn't something that lingers into the next week. But
London with one single target.
Yeah, they seem to not like to pass the ball over there in Atlanta.
They did not.
But the running backs over in Atlanta got some good scores, so hopefully us Packers defense can shut that down next week. They again some pretty solid points scored by the defenses in this matchup. Not quite the 60 points combined, but you're approaching 30 here. So actually, I think slightly beating 30. But so some pretty good stuff here. Yeah, pretty good stuff. Jordan Addison, pretty good, and Keenan Allen, very good as well. All around
solid ball
good
players
scores.
on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, just gotta get Cooper. Just gotta get Puka Nupa Cup Jr. Rocking and rolling, and now I'm excited. That was a flyer pick. I had him in a couple of different leagues, and I'm like, oh, it sounds like he's going to be the wide receiver 3, and picked him up, and I think he'll be good while Cooper comes out, and then when Cooper Cup comes back, I think that a lot of those targets will go right back to Cooper Cup. So I'm going to ride the Puka train while I can, and ride it to the death.
Yep.
Puka for life.
And
Puka for life.
It's just a fun name too. It's so hard
Right?
to root against them. Alrighty, moving on to the final matchup of the week. And as I mentioned, probably the closest. The difference, just about 6 points here. Which is State Farm versus Lincoln. Not great performances by the quarterbacks, just right off the bat here. Joe Burrow only had the 3.18 and then 6.32 from Dak. And then, obviously Najee, not super great against the San Francisco 49ers defense, only 5.3. And then what started out as a pretty solid game for JK, obviously tore his Achilles, so he's done, unfortunately. Another player suffering side effectively from a torn Achilles is Garrett Wilson. Obviously, he would have been a huge target for Rodgers, had he not torn his Achilles. But so we'll see how well he does with Zach Wilson. But he's still a very good receiver. That touchdown catch, not sure if you guys saw it, but it was pretty circus-like, to say the least. Devonta Smith, pretty solid, 17.7. And Kevin Ridley, it seems like he has not lost a step at all since being out of football for about 2 years or so. Just immediately gets peppered with targets and 23.1 fantasy points to show for it. So pretty solid stuff. And then, golly, another solid defensive outing from this matchup. Quite happy with that Packers score there. As a Packer fan. But, definitely some room for improvement on both sides of these, matchups here. And I'm certain with some of the players, especially the quarterbacks, that will happen. But, pretty close matchup here.
Yeah, Dak really didn't have to do much. Defense carried that all the way through. 40 points, and he didn't throw a single touchdown. Also didn't have to turn it over, so that's good. But definitely was hoping for a little bit more production out of that. But case of underperforming players. He's got Tony that had 4 drop passes.
Adequately named Brick Hands.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then, my bench isn't really perfect, but I think they can emerge later on in the season, other than Nico Collins. Definitely is going to do well in Houston. So,
yeah. I mean, he had 11 targets, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was this past week's matchups. And before we jump into week 2 matchups, I will quickly just run through the power rankings, and these are an arbitrary stat, Colin. So they don't mean anything technically, but
Take it up with your commissioner.
yeah, take it up.
Oh, sorry, Sacco.
/Sacco.
And again, I don't make the rules, so we'll just run through these really quickly here. And again, they're subject to change, and there's no questions afterwards. But 14, we've got Sam, 13, T-Corn, 12, Brian, 11, Lincoln, 10, Abby, 9, Colin, 8, Joey, 7, State, 6, Adam, 5, Caleb, 4, Fiala, 3, Matt, 2, Bruce, and 1, Michael. So
Joey, you fell in the rankings pretty hard.
yeah, that'll happen when you.
That's what happens when you put yourself at number 1. You got a
That's
farther
what
way to
happened.
fall.
Exactly. So
I got to be the highest mover on that list. 12-3. We love that.
probably. Yeah, and I
Matt's
think
proving us all wrong.
yeah.
Mhm.
We'll see. It's 1 week.
Bring back Derek. We want
Yeah.
Derek
Bring back Derek.
Derek was an
Sign up.
easy win.
Sorry, friends.
Alrighty, so now we will jump into this week's matchups, and I think the first one might be interesting to some folks here on the call. So first up, we've got me versus Matt. So
Puka.
T-Corn, you want to give us a rundown here?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. So 2 0-1 teams going on here with Joey and Matt. So I'm interested to see the running backs in this matchup. I think that's going to be my highlight that I want to focus on with McCaffrey Sanders. McCaffrey, man, that guy is always scoring 20-plus points. So not going to be
he's
surprised
pretty good.
if he does it again. Yeah, he's good at football. Miles Sanders going to be intrigued if he can actually have a good game because he kind of did math last week. And then on Matt's side, Nick Chubb, man, guy's a beast. He's consistent, old, reliable, always getting, a bunch of touches. And that's going to be an interesting matchup because they play on Monday night. So this game, I think, is going to come down to Monday night matchup. And then also Javonte Williams. He got a decent amount of work in, but, I'm going to be intrigued to see if he can actually be a little bit more productive with what he's got. So, man, Joey, I just think you should drop that tight end you got. I didn't even hear about him until you kept him.
Yeah,
and he scored 0 last week, so I'm really
man,
intrigued to
a
see
lot
if he
of
gets
people
points,
scored
but-
0.
Hey, I know. I had a guy
We'll
score
see.
negative points.
I'll look into it. I promise.
I got a couple tight ends if you want them.
Me too.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking for a running back.
Dogs.
I think it's going to come down. I think that we're pretty evenly matched across the board until we get to. I think the flexes are going to be huge in this game. I think that. I think Puka. I do have Puka in the lineup, so we'll see how that goes against San Francisco. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, White versus Pachenko and Lockett versus Nuka. So I think that is ultimately going to decide our matchup as who wins in the flex spots.
Yeah, and you do have that San Francisco defense up there, so that could be a bit of back and forth with those two guys.
Yeah.
I think with Matt's team, I'm going to give him the edge on tight end though, just because Ingram's been a guy that's been proving it lately. I think this is going to be close. I think it's going to come up to that Monday night game with Nick Chubb. And I'm going to give
Miles
the edge to
plays
Matt.
Monday night as well too. There's two
Ooh,
Monday nights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
We both have Monday night running backs.
Damn. It's going to come down to a Monday night matchup. I'm going to give the edge to Matt here. I think he gets his first win in Dem Boys.
Yeah.
It's a big moment.
Yeah. I'm glad I lost last week. I forgot to say this earlier. Now there's no pressure. I don't have to feel like I have to go undefeated. So that weight is lifted off the shoulders now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely...
Joey...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was going to pick Joey in this one. I think Christian's going to show up again, and it's going to be hard to come back from. But, I'm going to pick Joey.
Yeah, and, I could make some waiver moves or some trades by the time the matchups start, and T-Corn maybe will like my tight end better, or I won't do anything, and I'll just, maybe get 0 points again. But I'm gonna pick myself. It's a close matchup. It could go either way. So there's no risk in picking myself. So we're not even really keeping track of this. So it doesn't really matter who I pick. But I'm gonna pick myself. I think I'll get some bounce back performances from some of these guys. And some building performances, especially from Zay Flowers. Excited for his second match. Second week. We got two exciting young rookies here with Flowers and Addison. So I'm sure both those guys will do some good stuff.
I don't like to pick against myself, but I'm going to take Joey by a couple points as well.
Oh.
So I
That's your
like
downfall.
I like the underdog role.
Too nice.
But I think, like I said, I think it's going to come down to the flex, and I think it's really going to ultimately come down to Puka versus Lockett, and I as well as Puka, and as long as I'm riding that train, Lockett's just proven it longer. So I think that's where really the edge is going to come from.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to this one. Hopefully, I can right the ship. And you're obviously looking to do the same. So
yeah,
move on to the next matchup: Abby versus Sam.
All right, so interesting matchup here. Again, a couple all-in-one teams. So these two are looking for their first win. Abby's got a pretty solid lineup. Bat kind of said it, pretty good himself earlier with Abby's team. Let's see another week out of her squad here, because I think, through and through, she's got some talent, specifically at the running back position. And then if you look at her wide receivers too, pretty consistent. I'm not as high as Debo as I think everybody else is, just because, San Francisco has CMC, and I think Ayuk is going to be a better fantasy receiver this year, but he's still going to get his at the end of the day. Same with Pickens, guy's a playmaker. We got to figure out that tight end piece. So hopefully Andrews wins, because that's definitely going to, have an impact of how close this game is. And then if we look at Sam's side, I just still have some question marks, specifically at that running back spot. I think that spot's just such a weak spot for him that I really think that that's going to be what brings this team down. I like the wide receivers. I know I was shitting on Mike Thomas earlier in the year, but I think he's going to be consistent. He's going to give Sam 10 points a week, but, you're probably not seeing the Mike Thomas of old where he's getting 20 plus. So I think I still think Sam's team is going to get a couple wings, but those freaking running backs, my gosh, until he gets JT back, he's in a world of pain. So I think Abby's got this one in the bag, personally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there on the a lot of the points you made. You seem to just be hateful towards bad tight ends, but yeah, I do agree. Getting Mark Andrews back in that lineup would definitely help out Abby's cause here, and he was maybe pretty close to going this past week, but they just like you said earlier with Kelsey, Matt, it's a season. You want to win the season, not just one game. So they definitely just kept him out for that purpose. And yeah, like you said about Sam's running backs, I mean, when you got Deuce Vaughn in there as one of your starting two, and then A-Chain also in your flex, you're kind of hurting. Maybe throw Singletary in there. Probably won't be too much worse, but again, I don't think it's going to be a difference maker there. Yeah, this is. I mean, there are some good players over on Sam's side. Obviously, T.J. Hawkinson did pretty good for a tight end. T. Higgins, we'll see how well he can do if he can catch a ball. And then obviously Patrick Mahomes, Mr. Auto pick. We'll see if he can come back and have that matchup versus Jacksonville. I could definitely see that being a shootout, more high scoring than that Lions game in Week 1. But yeah, I'm going to pick Abby as well. I think the talent over there is just way too. It's so much higher. even though you can look at the projections and it's close, but like Tua went off last week, and there's plenty of guys over on Abby's side that could absolutely just go off. So I'm picking Abby as well.
Yep, I also am going to pick Abby. Running backs, yeah. I mean, key point right there is Saquon and Mixon, just top running backs for her. Mixon's going to get a lot more active, hopefully, in week 2 compared to what he was last week. And then if she's lucky to get Mark, that would just excel her even more. But I think even if it's without Mark, I think she's going to be just fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Abby too. I don't think I need to go and explain anything. You guys wrapped it up pretty well, so I won't.
Perfect. Alrighty. Moving us on to another matchup here. We got Lincoln versus Colin.
Ooh, so we got a couple. This is our first matchup now where we have a team with a win. So
Finally got a
it's going to
victory.
be, it's going to be intriguing. So on this is Colin's side here. So he's got a pretty consistent team with Lamar, the running backs Eckler, Robinson. I'm still going to be intrigued to see Brian Robinson through this year with. His backup running back, if they split more duties or not. So we'll keep an eye on that. But then he's still got the 2 Arizona receivers in, so I'm going to be intrigued if he starts those 2 this week, because if I'm going to be honest, did it pay off for him last week? Yeah, I think they both scored over 8 points, but on a week over week, I don't think those guys are going to score that much. So I think that might be tricky if he's going to consistently do that. And then I like Cole Kmet. I think Justin Fields uses him a lot as a safety blanket because, I mean, let's be honest, he struggles throwing the ball more than 5 yards. So, and then on Lincoln's side, we, kind of same thing. That blow to JK really sucks for this team. I think that's going to be hard to come back from because, that's a guy that we were thinking might be an RB1 this year, right? So I think that's going to be tough, but he does have some good players still in his lineup with Najee. He's able to kind of fill that void with A.J. Dillon, so we'll see, maybe he takes some lead back carries with Aaron Jones being hurt. Garrett Wilson, I think he takes a little bit of a knock with the Rodgers injury, but I still think, that guy's a stud. Joe, you said it earlier, his catch last night, ridiculous. So I'm not too worried about Lincoln's team overall. I think he's still got a solid lineup. With that being said, I'm going to give Colin the edge just based off of his players, but I'm going to pick Lincoln. And the reason why I'm going to pick Lincoln is I'm really concerned about those flex spots. So maybe that changes depending if he plans on changing or subbing players in or out. Not sure, but I think Lincoln's team is a little bit more consistent throughout, whereas I feel like Colin's team might have some better players on the top.
Yep. I definitely thought you were gonna, just the way that you worded it, I thought you were gonna go with Colin there, but you.
I talked myself out of it. I saw Marquise Brown and Rondell Moore in his flex spots, and I'm just like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially you can. There's teams where you're like, oh yeah, go ahead, start 2 receivers on the same team. I don't think Arizona is one of those teams.
No.
But yeah, you made pretty good points there. AJ Dillon, obviously I love the guy. But whenever he did get the ball, it wasn't as explosive and as groundbreaking as we are kind of used to him. So hopefully he can kind of, like you said, if he does have to get more carries with Jones, nursing that hamstring, hopefully he can step that up a bit. And then there's some very solid catchers here. I see you've got Nico in there. which I think is going to be a pretty solid move, considering he had 11 targets last week, and that's something that's earned. They'll definitely continue to, I think, probably build off that. With all that said, I'm also actually going to go with Lincoln. He's got, like I said, there's talented players on both sides here, but there's some elite difference makers, Devonta Smith, Garrett Wilson, as you previously mentioned. I just think, Lincoln's it's probably not going to be by more than 10 points, but I think Lincoln can pull it out and even up the records of both of these teams here.
I hope so. Obviously Dobbins is the biggest factor right now. I feel like if he stayed healthy, I would easily say myself. I just see Lamar Jackson coming back from a crappy week 1 just to go off in week 2. Eckler's always going to be consistent, right? It's going to be right around 15 points or more. So it's going to be a tough one. Obviously, I'm always going to pick myself, just in the hopes of something actually happening. But I do believe it's going to be close. Just a couple question marks on both sides, but I feel like I can pull it out.
I think I'm going to go Lincoln as well. I don't know if I like the 4-0 sweep for Lincoln, but I mean, I'm in the same boat as Tyler. I am not crazy about the 2 Arizona flexes in the game there. I love the wide receivers for Lincoln. Seattle looked awful after the first drive against an awful Rams defense, or what we thought was going to be an awful Rams defense. They made them look good. I think that Dak is going to have to work a little bit harder this week than he had to last week. So there'll be some more opportunity there, and I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to those flexes and then Najee too. We've seen Najee be really good, and we've seen Najee be really bad for fantasy. So depends on what Steelers team we get for that too. So, but I'm going to take Lincoln by 1.3 points.
I also want to mention defense wins games, so hopefully the Packers can
there you go.
help out with that.
There we go.
Yep. Alrighty, moving us on to the next matchup. A couple of 1-win teams here, so 2 total between the 2 of them. We got State Farm versus Bryan.
Damn. Yeah, these are 2 really good teams set to face off each other. Jake's been kind of consistent through this league through and through. Joe Burrow's going to have a bounce back week. You can probably guarantee it, unless obviously the weather is another factor again. But keep an eye on that. Jalen Waddle, he's always getting his. And then, the surprise here for me is Calvin Ridley. I knew at some point, he'd probably get back to football shape and back in the groove of things. I honestly didn't think he was going to go off week 1. So very shocked by that. I'm going to be intrigued if he can, follow it up week 2, remain consistent. So I think that's a big call for me. And then we got Kittle, who, he's one of the better tight ends in the league, very savvy vet. And then you want to keep scrolling down to the flex spots for me. So then flex spot, a little bit more of a question mark just because you got some guys with talent, but I think, I question their consistency with, getting the ball. So I'm just really going to be kind of vested in that part. I think we've been talking about this all day, but a lot of times these flex spots are kind of what make and break teams. So I'm just, from looking here, I think that's going to really be a big determining factor for these teams. So now if we go to Brian's side, so he doesn't have a quarterback. So, I mean, he'll probably put in Richardson. So
Yep.
we'll see. With a rookie QB, he's got a lot of upside, but he's a guy. They knocked his accuracy in when he was coming in through the draft. So we'll see that. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see. But he's very athletic, so he could very well likely score him a lot of points. And then these running backs, Tyler Algier, I don't think he's going to have quite the same week as he did last week. He vultured 2 touchdowns from our boy Bijan Robinson. I don't think that's happening again. And then, you got the wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, always going to throw up big points. So I think, Brian's overall got a solid team. Again, going to come down to these flex spots for me. I'm going to actually lean towards State Farm in this one. It's such a tough one. This is a toss-up for me. But I'm just going to lean that way just based off of mostly his flex spots and just knowing that I think I can rely on them to be a little bit more consistent or more likely to score points than, Jackson Smith and Odell. So that is my choice.
Yeah, you're right. This one, it's so close. I mean, you look just like looking across the board here of like the players that are lined up across from each other, and I mean it's gonna be super close. I think as well. I really am back and forth here, but I mean, oh gosh, it's so hard. I think I'll go State Farm as well, but I absolutely would not be surprised if Brian got the victory here. And man, it's just so tough. So many good players, on both sides here. These are definitely two of the top teams here, in terms of rosters. But yeah, I think I'll go State Farm as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with State Farm. I don't think it's gonna be as close as you guys are thinking. I just feel like Waddle, Burrow, they're gonna have some good weeks this week. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go State Farm. Just looking at matchups, Jay Jetta's on Thursday night. Kirk Cousins doesn't perform on prime time, so he's probably gonna
true.
struggle. Devontae Adams against Buffalo. Garrett Wilson only had a touchdown because quarterback play is a little bit different, or actually it's about the same, I would say. I'm not huge on Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think the matchups, I love Brian's team overall. But I think that it's going to be matchups. I think that matchups is going to be the difference here. So I'm taking State Farm overall.
Yeah, another clean sweep, but I feel like this one was a lot closer of a not clean sweep than the other one. So, yeah, obviously Brian's got to fill that quarterback. He will. I trust him. But yeah, so that was State Farm versus Brian. Moving on to, this could be a very interesting matchup. T-Corn versus Bruce here.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting one. It's tough to go into in this league and make a comeback. So, I got to step it up. But yeah, as far as my team goes, I'm really going to be focusing on that RB spot. I can guarantee you this week I'm going to start Breece Hall. So he will be entered in my lineup at some point. And then just another interesting spot here, Christian Kirk. Gonna just focus on that just to see, how he comes back. He scored, I think, 1.5 points last week. So really bad week for him. And then as far as just, again, receivers, KJ Osborne, we'll see. I don't know if he's going to start or not this week. He might get bounced out. Because I do have guys like Pirine and Lamb already in my flex spots to move around. And then lastly, that tight end spot. Man, tight end. God, I hate that position. I really do. Thinking Dalton Schultz is going to get a shitload of targets and he gets nothing. So that I'm going to be intrigued to continue to monitor because, if it doesn't, I'm not going to have patience with it. So we might be having a new tight end enter the a team has no name. So, and then on Bruce's side, man, Bruce has always got a pretty good team. He's got 2 solid RBs. We'll have to keep an eye on Aaron Jones if he's able to play or not this week, because that could really be a determining factor in who wins this game. Jalen Hurts always going to get his. He's a big-time player. Then his receivers. And Diggs, Kupp, really reliable, consistent guys. I'm intrigued to see Gus Edwards and what kind of work he gets now that JK's gone. So if he takes over that backfield or not. So that could be a big factor here as well. So I think Bruce definitely has an edge up on my team. But, Lincoln said this earlier, I'm not picking against myself. I'm picking me all day, every day. Doesn't mean that I can't acknowledge Bruce's team. He's a good team. And, if he was playing anybody else, I'd probably pick him, but he's playing me. So
I did make a mistake. I should have picked myself.
Start doubting yourself. You're gonna
Yeah,
go down.
right.
we'll see if it works for you, Matt.
Yeah, right.
I might do the same thing then if it works for you.
Right.
I remember last year I started doubting myself and see what happened there. So,
Oh boy. Or when I changed my pick.
I'm gonna pick Bruce in this matchup. T-Cron, obviously you've got a pretty solid team here. But Bruce is just, you mentioned those 3 guys, Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones, and Steph Diggs. Those 3 alone could, depending on the week and if Antonio Gibson's positive or not, that could get him the win right there. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is a bit down, and I'm sure he'll bounce back, have a better game. And then there's just some sneaky good guys like Amari Cooper is the number 1 target over there. Gerald Everett, he gets lots of targets over there in that offense. Gus, potentially the new starter in Baltimore, and then Mooney even had a touchdown last week, so. Obviously, it could go either way, but I'm fairly confident that it's going to be Bruce this week.
Yeah. Even if Aaron Jones has a limited snap count, depending on how his hamstring is, I do believe Bruce is going to come out victorious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go Bruce as well. I got to experience his team firsthand last week. So great overall team. Jalen Hurts is gonna bounce back. And then just a solid guys overall. It will be interesting if Aaron Jones doesn't play. Because then I think his only other RB is Ezekiel Elliott. So and I'm not convinced that Gus Bus is the starter there. I've heard that Justice Hill is going to get it, but I think it'll be a committee, and sometimes you'll be up. Gus Bus will be up, and sometimes he'll be down. Justice Hill will be up. So it'll just be a back and forth in that backfield. So I think that Bruce is going to win this one, but I think it'd be interesting if Aaron Jones doesn't play.
For sure. Speaking of, feeling the wrath of a team's power, last week, this matchup here is Michael versus Fiala.
Damn. Yeah, we got a couple of undefeated teams, so one of them's going to lose, right? So just
Can they both lose?
I hope so.
It's a tie.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I think in this one, this is going to be interesting. Michael's team is good through and through, with Ramondre, Kenneth. Only question mark, especially from last week's game, Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. I'm going to continue to monitor that one because he might have to start trimming a quarterback soon if Danny can't pick up that play. But really, the rest of his lineup is star-studded with Tyreek Hill going for 40 last week, Amon-Ra, always being a consistent guy and getting like 17 points. Ayuk, I think, is going to have a really big year this year. So he's, I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think has the best wide receiver trio in this league. David Njoku had a pretty good week, so we'll continue to see that. And then James Conner, these Arizona players, offering a little bit of upside right now. On Fiala's side, so again, looking on that end, he's got some pretty good players as well. With ETN, Allen, Cam Akers, coming off an injury a couple years ago. We'll see. He didn't do. He got a lot of carries, but didn't really do much with them. So I'm intrigued to see, how long his leash is, because they had a backup that did pretty good in comparison to how he did. So continue to see that. Chris Olave going to be good. Fiala's got a nice team, but Michael's team is on a freaking war path right now, I think. And I think, again, he's going to score close to highest points again, if not highest points. So I'm gonna put him in as a lock on this one because he's got a good lineup.
Yeah, he's just he desperately wants that Bork. So yeah, you said it. I mean, those receivers, it's pretty hard to beat that trio of Tyreek, Amon-Ra, and Brandon Ayuk. And then on top of that, you've got Kenneth Walker, who's pretty good, obviously, and Ramondre Stevenson, pretty solid stuff there. But I mean, really, it's just those receivers who can absolutely blow the top off games. Yeah. But over on Fiala's side, you do have Chris Olave, who's second-year receiver, who had a very solid week 1 last week. ETN was pretty solid. Obviously, Josh Allen didn't play up to his expectations, as for himself, and for people who have him in fantasy, I'm sure as well. And then there's some pretty solid players, but also guys with question marks. Also, like Likely, I'm not sure if he's even gonna be the starter this next week here. You do obviously Travis Kelce on your bench, so it's a kind of, if he comes back, obviously that'll be a big boost to Fiala's lineup. But yeah, I mean, even with Travis Kelce, I mean, I feel like who's to say Tyreek doesn't go for another 202? Probably not again, but that'd be kind of crazy if he did. But I'm gonna go with Michael here as well. That's just, like you said, just crazy good players.
Honestly, I think the only way that Michael loses is if Dallas's defense puts up another 42 points, which they're going up against the Jets and Zach Wilson, so you never know.
Oh boy, here we go.
But yeah, no, I think Michael's just got too stacked of a team right now. I know we're only 1 week in, but definitely looking at how they were utilized in their games, the players are going to perform at very high levels. So, like I said, I think the only way that Michael loses this game is if Dallas just puts up another disgustingly 42 points. Like, that's unheard of.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. Not specifically on the defense, but I think this game is only interesting if Travis Kelce comes in and plays. So,
well, you're biased, so.
Well, I'm biased, but I know the other receiving options on that team. So Patrick's going to feed that man because he knows that he can catch the ball. So
and he's hungry too.
Yeah, he wants revenge. So no, I think that Kelsey's going to get fed if he plays, and as he usually does, and I think that will make it interesting. But I'm still taking Michael for the win.
And we're really quite in agreement for most of these matchups here. So. We're probably all going to be wrong. Alrighty. Moving us on to the final matchup of the week. We've got
I hope not.
Caleb, is it not the last one? Did I skip one?
No, I think it is.
Okay.
It is.
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Caleb versus Adam.
All right. Man, Bijan Robinson. That guy is going to be a beast. So I hope he doesn't go off against the Packers, but I have a feeling he might get a couple big runs against us, knowing our the Packer defense. So And then he's got, big time names like Jamar Chase, Dalvin Cook, who's in a timeshare on the shit end of a timeshare. And then guys like Mike Evans that are going to be big time names. I'm intrigued. I don't know. Can you scroll up a little bit, Joey, for me? He had Khalif Raymond in his lineup there. I'm not sure if that'll change, just because I question that a little bit, just from a point scoring perspective. So keep an eye on that. And then
he's got Mike Williams on the in the bench there with a questionable tag. So if he goes, I'm sure Khalif will be out.
Yeah, which makes sense. I get it. It's Tuesday. Your lineups aren't officially set yet. So, and then on the other side here, looking at the top, we got primetime Kurt coming up this week for Adam. Like Matt said before, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to bet against that. So be aware. And then running backs, Josh Jacob, David Montgomery. Man, got a good RB tandem here, so we'll see how that goes. Now, really, what I'm intrigued with this matchup, I really think it is who's on the left side here. Who's got Bijan and Jamar?
The left is Caleb.
So yeah, I think Caleb's team here has got the edge. I'm going to choose Caleb's team just because he's got the bigger stars in the game. So,
yep. Yeah, and you could have Mike Williams by the time kickoff occurs. Like you said, I feel like Goff, he could definitely have a better week than he did last week. He's just kind of underrated, solid quarterback in the league. He went to a Super Bowl. So, but yeah, the running back's pretty good. Like you said, hopefully Bijan, doesn't score too many points. Considering he's going up against Green Bay. Jamar Chase, I'm sure, obviously will have a bounce back game, and Dallas Goedert as well. And Mike Evans probably is looking to continue that performance he did last week, and he's going up against the Bears, so I'm sure he will. But yeah, over here on Adam's side, obviously there's some pretty solid players. A.J. Brown and Chris Godwin are pretty solid wide receiver tandem. And then the flex even is pretty solid with Terry McLaurin and Zay Jones. So pretty solid stuff. This is, I feel like, going to be a pretty close matchup. Obviously, it's projected to be a 50-50 split right now. But, I think I'm going to go with Caleb here. There's guys that are poised for a bounce back, and I feel like this lineup isn't fully set yet.
Yeah. Get Mike Williams in there. It's not going to be as close. I'm going to go with Caleb.
I'm going Caleb if Mike Williams starts, and the opposite way if he doesn't. So Khalif didn't play well against a crappy Chiefs defense, but I think it's pretty even across the board that way. So I'm gonna go that direction.
Alrighty, and that was this last matchup. So that pretty much wraps the show up here. Matt, thanks for coming on. I hope you had a good time here. Going through all this.
You fist bumping me? There you go. Thanks. So it was a pleasure. Yeah, glad that I got to jump on, and hopefully to meet everybody soon, and hopefully I don't beat you too badly coming up soon. So
hopefully I don't beat you too.
No, Michael, I didn't pick you to win. Go away. We all picked you to lose.
Alrighty. Well, T-Corn Lincoln, any final words here?
Nope.
Good luck, everybody.
Nope.
Yeah, except for Matt. So, alrighty. That'll just about do it for this week's episode. So with that, thank you and thank you.